can we talk about the markets? Because
markets have voted no confidence. They need new leadership.
So
I don't believe anything.
Let's just recap. So the Fed injected $1.5 trillion to prop up crashing markets. That was March 12th.
That was a while ago.
Okay. So today's the 16th. So this
yesterday they dropped rates to zero, put a bunch of money up.
All right, don't jump ahead of me. We're going to get to this. So I'm showing people. So now, where does that money come from? According to Ben Bernanke, here's where it comes from.
Is that tax money that the Fed is spending?
It's not tax money. We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
So it's not tax money. They just make a little computer thing, and then somebody's got $1.5 trillion. And now this is from yesterday. This is from CNBC breaking. Federal Reserve cuts rates to zero and launches massive $700 billion quantitative easing program. So this is right on within 5 days of each other. This is happening. The Fed announced it would reduce the interest rate charged to banks that borrow from its discount window by 1.5 percentage points to help meet demands for credit from households and businesses at this time. The Fed has announced it would reduce the interest rate charged to banks that borrow. So that's it. So that's the whole story. So tell me, what does this mean? Where does this $700 billion come from? Where does the $1.5 trillion come from? Can you tell us all about this?
You have two economic problems right now. One is the probability or now certainty of defaults across all the forward lending, which is what you're talking about, right? The global credit market and global lending apparatus is going to have more defaults. And the Federal Reserve and everything, and they're doing policies that are rational and good policies to ensure that there's not a collapse in the credit markets alongside of the biological crisis. So that's that. Now, there's another thing, which is you have one variable, which is sort of managing for the default. We'll come back to the money in a second, but it's morphine for the default side. Just drug it, 1.5 trillion, put it on zero. So it's a bath of morphine for that whole side.
Right.
And then on the other side, you have a demand collapse, which is nobody moving or doing anything that's without precedent or context, that's global, which has nothing to do with the credit markets and has everything to do with the cash flow of small and medium enterprises from 1 month to the next as they try to cover, meet, and pay their bills. You're talking about hotels and restaurants that have gone from 100 to zero.
Right.
Not down 10%, not down 20%, not a bad summer, not down 35%, to zero, to 95% down. Like it's zero, unprecedented and global. Bars and restaurants in Barcelona, it's everywhere.
So
and the consequences of that is going to force in the UBI as Andrew Yang is going to get what he was pushing for as a result of this. I really believe that.
So right. So what happens is a guy can't make money. He can't pay his rent. Now the landlord can't pay his bank note. So now the bank doesn't have that money. So now they're going to be failing. That's one part of it. But then there's also all the money they lent out to the fossil fuel industry, correct? And
everybody. Fossil fuel, real estate. Yeah, you want Manhattan real estate right now for the coronavirus?
Right.
It's on sale.
Yeah, I actually do.
So now's the time.
Now's the time. Cash is king in a crisis. So
in Manhattan, who wants to be in a Manhattan's a petri dish?
So Dylan, they just pumped in. They just gave the morphine bath to Wall Street, and now it's over $2 trillion at the snap of a finger. And so why wouldn't they, allocate at least half as much as that money to fixing the problem that's causing this? Why do they keep just putting a Band-Aid on it? Why don't they just try to, do you know what I mean? Like, again, how long do you think before they do?
Because, the intervention, if you look at like Singapore, which arguably did like the best of anybody in the world, right?
Yeah.
Which they knew they're like, as soon as a biological risk exists, you lock it down and you stay locked down as soon as possible for as hard as possible, which makes it as short as possible.
Right.
Because they're used to it because they were closer to SARS. They've been through some of these other previous scares.
Right.
So they're more familiar with the realities. They're through the emotional conflict about why should I do this? I can't be too, how can this be? And what are we going to do? And how are we going to work?
Right.
And how am I going to eat? And toilet paper and all this idiocy. Like they know, they got it. Like we lock down sometimes when it's risky. It's like when there's a tornado, you go in the shelter.
Right.
Well, when there's a biological risk, you shut it down. And the rest of the world doesn't know. We're just all learning this now, and the sooner the better at this point.
So, I mean, like you said, the markets are letting us know what's happening. So 1.5 trillion pumped in. Wouldn't that send a signal to the government that, hey, or over 2 trillion now, hey, we have to lock this down? Like South Korea.
No. The signal is they put up 0% and 1.5 trillion plus. And then when they did that, the market opened limit down and kept going down. And then when there was a press conference from the president, it went down again more after.
Right.
That's a vote of no confidence on the leadership in the face of a tactical crisis. You have great leadership in Governor Cuomo here in New York. I have not watched, but it looks like the leadership out in California has been good. And so I think that now is the time to go behind the leaders that have the right answers. And I think Governor Cuomo really represents that at this moment, and argue about the rest later.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
So now in Italy, you were telling me about they have rules for dealing with this. When you go out in public, you have to stay a certain amount away. You're telling me about blue tape at the airport.
1 meter away, no groups larger than 5 people.
So that's their rules. You have to stay 1 meter. That's roughly 3 feet, right? A meter? Stay
3 feet away, point your elbows at each other, carry on, enjoy. 5 people at a time.
And so you were in Italy, and you obviously had to go out how did you eat when you were in Italy?
How did I eat?
Yeah, I mean, did you go to a restaurant? Under quarantine?
I was never in the red zone. Like, we have a business in Milan, which has all these employees, that was at the epicenter of the shutdown going back 6 weeks. I was in Spain expecting to go to these meetings, and then Milan was closed. So then I went to Venice, which was not in the red zone, in the hopes that Milan was going to cool off. And instead it expanded, and then I had to leave. Okay.
So the mistake they made in Italy was that they tried to close down just Milan, right? And then what that did was...
the hot spotting, the regional closures are rational but disastrous because it causes flight of people that are from the highest exposure zone moving around the country to get out of the lockdown.
Yeah, so what happened was they locked down Milan, everybody flees, and now you're spreading it faster.
To Rome.
Yeah, they all go to
You're
Rome.
Accelerating the flow to Rome.
You're accelerating people's travel, and so you're accelerating the spread when you lock it down regionally. And so that's why we need in the United States a countrywide lockdown, and because people will keep traveling, and that's how it gets spread. But anyway, okay, so workers today, was this in Spain? It was at in the Basque country, at a Mercedes-Benz factory. They were forced to work, and so the workers decided to stop production. And here's a little video of that happening. When I talked to you yesterday, I was hoping, fingers crossed, that the silver lining from this horrible thing would be that socialism comes to America, we get Medicare for all and a UBI. And in fact, here's Tulsi Gabbard. She's saying, will they support my legislation? She actually offered a legislation. It's called the Emergency UBI for every American to receive direct assistance, $1,000 a month for the duration of the crisis. So she's already offered that. She's a sitting legislator. She's already offered that. And do you think that's going to happen? That has to happen, right?
Yeah, I do.
And so
I think it's going to happen.
And so
probably this week.
So this week it'll happen. Trump will have to sign off on this. And then what do you think about, do you really think Medicare, because right now what they're doing is they're just saying, well, if you go to hospital, they'll take care of your coronavirus. And you don't have to pay for it. But you can see all the problems with something like that, right? Now people will just say they have it, and they'll go to the hospital, or they'll get it so they can get something else taken care of while they're there. So what do you think? Do you have any predictions? I know you're not a Swami, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll hold the line on that. I mean, I think that I can see the currency or the leverage to advocate for Medicare for all is surely at an all-time high and should be leveraged, in my opinion, because I believe it's just a part of a creative, dynamic society as a foundation. It seems absurd to me as even a debate, but that's my personal thing. I just think that the way that the structure in America is that they'll hold the line on that as long as possible, and I think that while it accumulates momentum, I think UBI could happen within the month as an actual policy because I think that it's just necessary right now.
So the UBI is so you're saying the UBI definite Medicare for all, they're going to try and hold off on that.
That's my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so, what do you think is going to happen with
the real irony? I think is that Donald Trump. My big irony is that Donald Trump gets reelected on a platform of UBI and Medicare for all, and is beloved. He just wants to be liked anyway.
If that happens, I mean, that will be the most amazing. And they'll put him on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he would love.
So, I mean, at the point where Donald Trump starts campaigning on UBI and Medicare for all, the Democrat, again, he's going to out-left the Democrats again, you think?
I mean, I'm just talking. This is me talking in the car at this point. I mean, I
hear you. I know.
I just think that would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, anything else you think we should cover on this subject that you, the info you have that we should
get
share?
real, man. I think it's time to get real. Get real and demand leadership. This is an actual situation.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how we demand. How do we demand?
This week matters.
How do we demand leadership? Go to social media and scream at them, or what else? What else can we do?
Yeah, you want budgets for field. You want to plan budgets. You want testing, field hospitals, and UBI.
Testing, field hospitals, UBI. I'm with you. And I think Medicare for all, but that'll take a little while longer. We'll see.
I'm talking about this week. This week. UBI testing.
I mean, so Dylan, you're from Wall Street. So now Wall Street knows that UBI has to happen, right?
They're pushing for it.
They're pushing for it. So it will happen because they run government.
We hope.
Okay. All right. All right. So UBI, field hospitals, and what's the third thing?
Testing.
Testing.
Tests. Drive-through testing.
So they're finally importing tests from Germany. I read that yesterday. So hopefully that'll happen. Hopefully we'll have enough.
They're just saying things. They're just saying things.
Really?
I mean, you could buy the tests from South Korea on Amazon right now. We could just start buying them. It's ridiculous.
So again, it seems like this would be. What is in it for them to keep still now today dragging their feet on this?
Who the heck knows, man?
Okay.
Denial is the first phase of dealing with a catastrophe, right? Denial into anger.
Right.
Maybe they're stuck in a denial bubble. It's a human experience. It's profound, dangerous, man.
Okay. All right. Well, Dylan, thanks for taking time.
But that's why we just got to pay attention to the people that are working, like Cuomo. You know, the psychoanalysis is for another day. Time matters right now.
All right, Dylan Ratigan, thank you very much for spending time and giving us your expertise and your info from Italy and all that stuff. I appreciate it.
Thanks for a chance to share. I wish I had a different point of view.
Yeah.
I feel like even if I'm, it's just what I've seen is too absolute. And listen, maybe it's no good, but surely it's going to happen this way at some point. We better be ready to stand up field hospitals. Right now, America's looking slow and unfocused in comparison to a lot of other people, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Dylan Ratigan, thanks for being our guest. Stay safe, pal.
All right. Thanks, man.
Virtual handshake.
All right, peace. Elbows,
baby.
Elbows.
Okay.
Elbows.
Hey everybody, the next live Jimmy Dore show is May 1st in Minneapolis, and then we're going to Chicago. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets to all our live shows, and become a premium member at jimmydorcomedy.com/join. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Thanks for your support.